All right, welcome to our Planning Commission meeting for March 12th, 2024. Appreciate you all being here. It's not often we have a lot of people from the public, so it's always nice to see some people here. We appreciate that. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and Commissioner Bills will lead us in that.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
To begin our meeting, do any of the commissioners have any conflicts with any of the items on the agenda that they need to declare?
Nope.
I don't have a conflict, but for the record, I'm the president of the HOA across the street from the subject property. We happened to have our HOA homeowners meeting last week. A number of these people showed up to ask questions about it. I did not discuss any of the facts because I didn't even know it was on the agenda at that time. But I did tell them that the procedure is to come here tonight, speak if you want to, that what this board will do tonight, we'll make a recommendation to the city council to approve the application, to deny the application, or we could table the application. And then next week, Steve will give you the date, there will be a meeting by the city council, and they will make the final vote, and they will decide whether or not the applicant gets what they want.
It may or may not be next week.
And it's usually next week. I'm always wrong.
They
Thank you.
canceled their,
future date.
they canceled their first meeting of the month, so I think this agenda is going to be large, so.
Steve will tell you.
All right, thank you. Any other conflicts? I don't think I heard any, so. No. All right. Item number 2 is approval of the February 13th, 2024 regular meeting minutes. Is there any discussion or motion?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from February 13th.
Motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Item number 3 is approval of the February 27th, 2024 work session minutes. Any discussion or motion?
Make a motion that we approve the February 27th, 2024 work session minutes.
Motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously as well. All right, item number 4 is the public hearing to consider a request to amend the following maps for the property located at approximately 3588 West, 6000 South. There's 2 options there: general plan, future land use map from single-family residential to either multifamily residential or commercial mixed use. Zoning map from RE20 residential estates to either R4 multifamily residential or community commercial. We'll go to the applicant as the applicant here. If you'd please come forward, state your name and address, and tell us about your project.
Thank you, Chair. Planning Commission, my name is Chase Freebairn, representing Home by CW Urban. My address is 3451 North Redtail Way, Layton, Utah. Appreciate the opportunity. I do have just, I don't know if it's possible to pull up the slides or if it's better just to, but I'm going to hand these out, just circulate these. Thank you. And for the record, the packet I'm handing out right now to the Planning Commission members and staff is the exact same presentation that's up here on the board. So I didn't want to kill too many trees for everybody in the room. But I do appreciate the Planning Commission. It's not easy to serve on a Planning Commission. I think there's always a lot of moving parts, and I appreciate your service in helping plan your city, and I appreciate the neighbors and those that are here tonight to share with us feedback, whether that be negative feedback, positive feedback, or anything in between. We're committed to having a good relationship with Roy City, and we want to have a good public-private partnership, and also at the same time, we want to be good neighbors. Wherever we go, we try to listen to the neighbors, and we know that we don't always have the best ideas. There's no monopoly. No one has a monopoly on good ideas, and some of our best ideas and some of our best projects have come from next door neighbors. The neighbors are the ones that live in the community. They're the ones that drive those roads every day, and we look forward to any public comment. But just jumping through, again, this is the Nguyen property, 3588 West, 6000 South Roy, just west. I think it's called the Rock Run commercial corner there, the corner of 6000 and 3500 West. It's part of phase 2 of the Holly Acres subdivision, just north of, I think is it South Fork Farms or South Fork Meadows? I think it's South Fork Meadows, right? Is the subdivision. I used to put signs up there. I used to work for Ivory Homes, and in high school, that was on my sign route. I would go put up directional signs, and whoever, and he would pull them out of the ground, and so that was my memory. I remember that model home, South Fork Meadows, and actually Colin Wright, our owner of Home by CW Urban, that was his father, Gary Wright, who actually developed South Fork Meadows. So I'm very familiar with that project, and it's a great neighborhood. So anyways, just running through this site, I don't want to, we can just go to the next page, page 2, onto the page, let's actually jump to page 4. This is actually an updated concept plan. We previously had a plan that was too dense of a product, and we had 24 units initially for townhomes, and that would have been a 3-story townhome. We thought it was too tall. It wouldn't work with the code because it was over 30 feet, and so we decided to revert to a 2-story townhome product, townhome style home. So this is a 2-story. It feels more residential. It feels more suburban. These are no basements. These would all be for sale, so we have no intention of turning these into a for-rent product or Airbnb or anything. We want this to be a for-sale product that someone can realistically get onto the income ladder. With their income, they can get onto the wealth ladder with the purchase of a home. And if we could get under $400,000 for a townhome anywhere along the Wasatch Front, that's a huge win. We want housing to be attainable. We also want it to be attractive, and we want to help complement the neighborhood and help build value. So again, this is a rezone general plan amendment. And so usually at this stage, as Steve knows, it's not required to have a site plan or required to have a plat or anything like that. But we do feel it's important to at least come here tonight to at least show our vision for the property, listen to feedback from both you and the neighbors and staff. We believe we can add value to the neighborhood and help create something that's unique and special and help people who can afford housing. There's a lot of people who I think that it's, there are a lot of Californians, and there's nothing wrong with Californians moving here. I know that's always a hot topic. But a lot of these people who are trying to find a place, these are our children. These are our neighbors. These are our friends and family, and not everybody can afford the large half-acre lot or the third-acre lot of yesteryear. And so, people my age and younger, it's brutal out there trying to find housing. So just going through some of the product on page 5. Again, this is total acreage, 1.57 acres. We're proposing 20 townhomes, 12.7 units to the acre, and that equates out to 3 3-plexes, 1 5-plex, and 1 6-plex. And again, these are 2-story townhomes that would range roughly in square footage from 1,600 to just over 1,850 square feet, 1,863. And most of these plans are 3 bedrooms. There are a couple plans that actually have 4 bedrooms, and they're all upstairs, and then 2.5 bathrooms. So kind of the general square footage feel. If you go to the page 6, this is a rendering of a similar product. It is not the exact product we are proposing. I want to be clear on this. These are renderings from our project in St. George. And so I don't want anyone to think that we're proposing Vegas or Phoenix or St. George aesthetic. We're not. This was just some of the only renderings we had access to in time for this meeting. And so we would we would change the architecture. There wouldn't be as much stucco. We would add more green space, and some of the local scape and xeriscape is okay, but we don't want it to look like Las Vegas. But we want it to be an attractive product. Again, this is front load townhome, 2-car garage. If you go to the next slide, there's another rendering. Different product, or excuse me, same product. And then again, page 8, you can get a little closer up idea of how the roof pitch and roof line would work. Again, not saying this is the exact architecture that would happen later. Going to page 9, here's a shot of some of the interiors. And then moving to page 10, I think this is the master bedroom. And if you actually go to page 12, we have, this is some recent product we're doing, some recent design schematics we're doing on a project in Woods Cross. It doesn't necessarily have to be these exact colors, but these are some popular colors right now that home buyers are choosing, and we could find ways to implement some of these elements onto the front architecture, give them an attractive feel. Again, we don't want to have a stucco box. That's not our intent. We want to add some design elements that really complement the neighborhood. But yeah, so I think going back to that site plan on page 4, just to kind of recap, we believe this does follow the general plan, and as indicated in the staff report, staff's recommendation of approval, it does check the moderate income housing box in a lot of ways, and we do believe it would be a great addition to the neighborhood. And I know Clinton has their kind of commercial corner on the border right there in Davis County. You've got the office park, Rock Run right there on the corner, and it makes for a nice transition from commercial to residential. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at. And again, this is still pretty early. We don't have everything exact to the exact detail in terms of floor plan and site plan. That'll happen later in the process, but this is just kind of our general overall vision for the property, and welcome any questions you have.
Great, thank you. Any questions from any of the planning commissioners? Okay, we'll probably have some questions a little bit later as we get a little further in, so thank you. We'll give some time to Steve for staff report on this.
Okay, as mentioned, this is a request to amend the general plan to either multifamily residential or commercial mixed use, and the zoning map to either R4 multifamily or CC community commercial. Again, just kind of an aerial of where the project is. I think we kind of have an idea now. As you know, the general plan was just adopted last year, actually a year ago. So we went through the process, looked at what would be good uses where and what have you. So when you look at the future land use map, Rock Run was deemed commercial mixed use. Across the street, even though right now it's single-family homes, across the street east, single-family homes, but the council and the planning commission felt that it was a good place for commercial. Of course, the southwest or east corner is Winco and all that's going there. As you went farther north, you have all those large RE20 properties. When we get to the zoning map, there has been some change in zoning with those. So these two properties during the general plan weren't included in commercial. It was left as single-family residential. But like general plan, it's not put in stone. We need to relook at it. Did we make a mistake or did we not think about something? So that's kind of why we're here. So just kind of get a closer look of those two properties. It's not as deep as those properties to the north, so it'll be surrounded by commercial mixed use. So when you go to the zoning map, again, most of it is the dark green on this side. Lighter green is the R115 zone. The dark green is the RE20. Then you see those 5 properties above that we're were just recently, I think, wanted to say 4 or 5 months ago, rezoned to match what the general plan had called out for. No, go back. There we go. So it was consistent with, so the determination here is, does R4 or the community commercial kind of coincide with what the area is? You have the ability to make recommendations for either one. Now, the general plan calls this area, that pink area, to be commercial mixed use. That zone does not exist today. It's something that, when the general plan came out, it was just a suggestion. So staff has, still got it on the list of things to go through. The planning commission will be the ones to kind of figure out what that would look like. Is it similar to the downtown and front runner station? Is it different? How do we go about that? So what the general plan is suggesting isn't necessarily equate completely over to the zoning map. So that's why community commercial, which is consistent with what's right next to it and eventually what's going to be the north of it, comes into play. Staff looks at it, R4 is kind of out of place, even though from a planning standpoint, we're taught that, have a good buffer between commercial and single family is multifamily. So it's not out of the ordinary, but it just doesn't exist in this area. The commercial mixed use or the commercial zone does exist in the area. So staff would lean more towards, if we amend the general plan to the commercial mixed use and then the zoning map to CC community commercial. Any questions?
Steve, what kind of businesses would be in commercial mixed use that you're saying that we should look at?
Well, the commercial mixed use, again, doesn't exist yet. So it's going to be this body that makes the recommendation to the city council. It could be similar to what the downtown mixed use zone is, maybe not as high density, maybe not as tall as buildings. It might be, a lot different. It might be similar in aspects. So the uses we don't know yet. Community commercial, it's similar to what's there now. So you can have, shopping malls, Winco's in the community commercial. You got dentist office, doctor's office, banks, what have you. Fast food is allowed. So similar to what's existing down there now or up on 56 and 35, 48 and 35. Those are what are allowed in the community commercial. Height difference between the two zones is 5 feet. So the R4 and residential is 35 feet. Commercial is 40 feet. So in essence, there really isn't much difference in that aspect. The bigger difference is commercial does have more restrictions when it butts up against residential. It has more requirements, a fence, so much buffering between, depending on what kind of fence they get. Where the residential, it's, your residential against residential, no fences are required, and none of those buffer yards that come into play. So similar to what Rock Run has done adjacent to the residential is what this would do if it was commercial. And I assume if we did do a mixed-use commercial in this area, zoning-wise, we'd very similar to what both Planning Commission and City Council did, is really protect those residents and make it, you get a 20, 25-foot setback, and then the building can only go so far, then it has got to kind of move up, so it's not just a big wall. Where the community commercial, it could be a bigger wall. So those are things we still, it's the unknown. As was mentioned, generally site plans, architectural are not required at this stage. Right. Staff has not reviewed any of them to see if they're compliant with the codes, any way, shape, or form. So those are just kind of suggestions of how it could. It may be less number of units. It may be different styles of buildings. So Dan looks like he has a question.
I do. So there's a statement that was made in the presentation of DU per acre versus just what we refer to as units. So what does DU refer to?
I assume it's development or dwelling units?
Dwelling units?
You can come back up to the microphone if you want, because I have a question that I'll probably ask you too.
So I mean, in our ordinance, we talk about how many units are allowed per acre in a multifamily in an R4. And we reference it just as unit. And you
Right.
reference
This is actually,
here as
it's,
12.7 DUs per acre, which is not, well, obviously what,
yeah, it's
We
a
understand.
stylistic thing from our engineer, how he likes to state it in his tables. I don't know if, honestly, I'd have to ask him. I don't know if it's, I would imagine it's either stands for density units or dwelling units.
okay.
That's my guess.
So we're still talking just units.
But at the end of the day, it's just a unit.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you while you're up here. Obviously, we've kind of got the option to leave it RE20, which it is zoned currently.
Correct.
One of the options on the table is to zone at R4, which would allow for the multifamily, which is kind of what your presentation centered on. The other option is to zone it commercially. If we didn't do the R4, what are your thoughts on it being zoned commercially? Or
It's a good question. You know, I'm not a commercial retail expert. I'm strictly, focused on the residential side. I have shown the site to our retail director, and I don't think she believes this would be a great commercial site. If it was the hard corner where Run Rock is, where right there at the very corner of 6,000 and 3,500, then yeah, that's a different story. I think it's a little tougher draw, getting some type of retail draw to that site. Not saying I could be wrong. I'm not an expert in commercial, but I think we would be more comfortable with the R4. It's not to say we can't use the commercial as a vehicle to still do this same plan, and maybe there's some type of commercial element to the project. One thing I've mentioned to Steve, and I don't know if it's a possibility or not, but you could offer some type of live work. It's a fairly common concept in some cities where someone has a haircutting salon, in their house as a part of a business or something. So there's ways we can get creative to still comply with commercial. I just truthfully, I don't see anybody wanting to come here and build, some type of fast food or gas station, or, I could be wrong, but I just don't see it as a real commercial destination. So I think, yeah, that's just my opinion.
thank you. I have high respect for property owners and their rights, and I just wanted to kind of hear your opinion on that as we kind of wade
But
through that and go into
Our
the public
retail
hearing.
director,
So-
she didn't have any interest in a commercial here, so.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
I know you haven't developed any commercial plans, or you don't have any before us tonight. One of the things that property owners, not just these people, but property owners usually worry about is traffic, ingress and egress. Have you looked at this property at all to get ingress off of 3,500 and not off of 6,000? There's a space in Rock Run that looks to me like it was left deliberately, that maybe you could get through there. Does that sound feasible to you?
Yeah, it's a good question. Honestly, I'm not familiar with the Rock Run plat, and if there is some type of, if there's a way to zoom in on that, but,
Not.
okay. I'd have to look into it. I'd have to look at the plat and see if there's some type of access easement. Obviously, that's private property. We'd have to procure an easement.
Right, and get you
Not
guys
saying it's not
approval and
possible, but
all
it's-
that. Yes, we know. Okay,
Could
thank
be
you.
challenging, yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions for Steve?
Again, those are aspects that are not generally part of a
Right,
general plan or rezone.
That's correct,
correct.
but I'm sure these people care.
Okay, seeing no other questions, we'll move to the public hearing. Just before we get started in the public hearing, I'd just like to kind of explain what'll happen and kind of the process and a couple of the ground rules that we have. So obviously, this is your opportunity as a public to be heard and express your opinion on the project. When you come forward, please come to the microphone and state your name and your address, and then tell us what you'd like us to know about the rezone, either for or against. We will give you 3 minutes. 3 minutes sounds short when you hear that, but it's also about a page worth of written notes, so it actually is quite a bit of time as you get into it. And what I'd really like to ask you to do is not repeat what other people have said. That's really not productive, but just simply state, hey, I agree with this point, and then move on and state something new about the rezone that you feel would be important for us to hear. During the public hearing, we're not going to address comments or questions during the public hearing, but we'll make notes of that. And then after we close the public hearing, we'll go back through and we'll make sure that we address all of those before we make our decision tonight. So with that, the last thing is just to be respectful and not heckle or cheer or boo or any of those kind of things, but just let people have their opportunity to come forward and speak to the issue. So with that, we'll go ahead and a motion's in order.
Motion to go into public hearing.
I have a motion to go to public hearing. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. So we're now in the public hearing. So members of the public, please come forward. When somebody's at the microphone, if the next person wants to come and get ready behind them, and that way we can move through this in an efficient manner.
Thank you, Commission, for this opportunity. My name's Greg Winham. I live at 3548 West, 6050 South, and the points that I would like to bring out, Mr. Parkinson, would it be possible to put the map up that you had of the area?
Like the aerial?
That would be great. The concerns I have in knowing what's happening on our border in Clinton with a similar larger, much larger project, knowing the traffic flows in the area, knowing that we have an intersection at 3500 West, 5700 South, which would be one of the more difficult intersections in our community for the neighbors already to come out of and onto the street, knowing that we're going to enhance the traffic flow potential on 3500 West, and putting any more kind of traffic to go along with what's happening with Clinton. And in Clinton, that's already been, that's a done deal. They're going to put in multi or high density housing in that very large area. And so that will impact Roy. It will impact Roy's law enforcement. You'll have an intersection at 6000 and 3500 West that will be impacted dramatically. The flow to the freeway, even with the new extension that comes into West Point, the flow to the freeway is still going to be 5600 South, no matter how nice they make that flow up there. Those impacts will all be borne by our city. I don't disagree with what the gentleman said about the opportunity for people to find housing. I've witnessed myself and made recommendations to councils in prior years that in fact we were creating too small a density housing in the western corridor of Roy City. This would continue that. There are very few neighborhoods in our community that have space. The area that we're talking about is one of 3 or 4 communities that have space. I'm firmly convinced that we have people who have grown up, who have embraced Roy City, that want to move up, that want to stay. And there is a lot of property, that little area right there opens up, and if you go back to the map that he showed of his rendering, the driveway straight in off of 6000 goes right through and continues on into there, which could become more high density if that were an option that was approved by the city.
All right, thank you. That's
Thank
your
you.
3 minutes. All right, and I'll raise my hand, just a heads up, when you have 30 seconds left, and that'll give you an opportunity to kind of summarize what you're saying. Go ahead.
Lance Parker, 3586 West, 6050 South, Roy. I disagree with the rendering of moving forward with this. The reason being is obviously the traffic, also the opportunity for more density. I agree with in some aspects of having housing available for the younger generation to move up, but this doesn't really give you the opportunity to do that, in my opinion. The traffic flows and stuff like that, it doesn't work for the amount of people that you're going to be putting in that density area. It also becomes on-street parking becomes a deal. You know, most of these would be, if you had that density of 3 bedrooms, to have that affordability, is that going to be someone that's going to buy it and have roommates or something? Possibility. Well, now there's 2 parking spots for that spot, and now you have somewhere else that they need to park. So then it becomes more critical in that aspect. So I'm concerned with also the water pressure that we have currently. In my residential home, my water pressure is not real well, and I don't know how that would affect it, to be honest with you. So that's a concern. Also, how do we look at, I agree with the density of being able to, that big area, and have it come in through the main road. That makes sense. But to have that setting on the 6,000, you already, that's a 25-mile-an-hour zone, and it's condensed down as you go down to get onto the other freeway that's just opened up. And it's already, I can remember when I first moved in, it took me 5 minutes to get to the freeway. Now it takes 15 to 20 minutes. So to keep on putting more and more, I just disagree. So that's kind of where I stand, so.
All right, thank you.
Evening, Ms. Bills, gentlemen. Mark Arrington, 3685 West, 6050 South. I'm concerned and opposed. They've mentioned traffic, don't want to repeat myself. But we're talking 22-car garages, so, and realistically, I don't know any families that don't have at least 2 automobiles. So we're talking 1.57 acres, 40 automobiles for 1 driveway. I think it's unrealistic. I don't think it's good for the neighborhood. Both Mr. Winham and the last gentleman spoke about what the impact would be. In addition to what Clinton is putting in, I think it's unrealistic. You're talking, again, 20 homes, 3 to 4 bedrooms, probably, I mean, again, realistically, 100 people on an acre and a half, 40 cars. I don't think it's feasible, especially for residential, and I don't think it's feasible for the multi-use development. The gentleman that's proposing this, I think who's representing the owner of the property, wasn't thinking about that anyway. I don't think that's his interest. As we know, with the higher density of any housing, apartments, small multi-density homes here, again, I feel for the people. My wife and I have kids now that can't afford to get into a home. Very sympathetic of that, understanding. But this specific property is not the place to be doing it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commission. My name's Doug Pointer. I live at 3798 West, 6000 South in Roy. I've been there for 26 years. I moved to Holly Acres because of the size of the property. Family growing up there, kids and everything. We've had our horses and cows and chickens and all that stuff. That's why we bought that property. Like everybody said about the traffic, it's horrendous. It used to be a stop sign there when I lived there, and across the street, you know, Doyle Jones when he had that, and pheasant hunt across the street. Place is really growing. I just another advocate about, even in the morning, we're 20 cars deep at the light now on 6,000 trying to get across there. So just adding more to it. And it's really not the neighborhood to put in apartments or whatever they want to do. It's not what we're looking forward to. I've called a few of the neighbors this afternoon, and nobody knew about this, and I don't know how to get it out more so people are more aware of it, but I'm against it, and
Okay.
I know we have to change, and I have kids too that are trying to find a place, but I don't think this is the area for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Jean Arrington at 3685 West, 6050 South, and have a couple concerns. I'm not for this. Couple concerns. You stated that there is a general plan. It was just approved a year ago. This is not part of the general plan, and I feel like we should not morph the general plan with every new request that comes through. I feel like we should have a general plan that was where we looked at it and considered it and stick with the general plan. The second point is if you bring up the map earlier where we had what was maybe commercial mixed use around there, and you were talking about the different regulations about how you abut different properties. I feel like to start approving these kind of uses for properties in this yellow space, I feel like there's no limit to the encroaching that we'll do. We'll move, and then the next argument will be, oh, well, that's a commercial space, so we can take these next two. Oh, that's a commercial space, we can take the next three. So I'm worried about that, and I agree with what Mr. Wyndham said, excuse me, that there's very few neighborhoods left in Roy where people can move, that there is property, and I feel like we should preserve what we do have. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Chance Parker. I live at 3586 West, 6050 South. But everybody's pretty much hit on most of the stuff that I'm concerned about. But when it comes to the commercial side of things, I also don't feel that that is a great spot to do anything commercial, mostly because of, as everybody said, the traffic and the encroachment and whatnot. But I'm not for the opportunity to change that.
Thank you. And if you want to speak, please come up, and then the next person can fill in.
So I have more questions than statements because we were one of the people that got a
Your
letter.
name and your address, please.
Oh, sorry. Danette McGilvery, 3536 West, 6050 South in Roy. So we were one of the few in our neighborhood who actually got a letter about this meeting. And there wasn't any information as far as what the proposed plan was that we heard from the first speaker. So it's hard to be able to make a good statement about something when the information isn't out there ahead of time. But I do want to make a few comments from what I've heard. Definitely agree with all of the traffic. Anything that gets built there, I think that the Planning Commission really needs to take into account parking spaces. There have been too many of these townhomes and higher density that they have an unrealistic expectation about the number of cars that are going to be there, as has been mentioned previously. I'm concerned about height. I'm not very good at heights, so I don't know if the proposed heights are higher than homes that we already have in South Fork that is there, but I don't think that we should have anything that's higher than what we have there. And is it possible to have consideration of homes but not quite as dense? So even less than the 20 homes, and people don't need to have as large as what we have in South Fork? Is there something that we could have in the middle, some kind of a compromise there? And if you don't approve to keep it as residential, do we have to change it to commercial? I'm equally concerned with commercial and the encroachment and the change, and I just don't think that it is a location that people are going to see, and I don't actually think it would be a very good commercial kind of a space. So those are, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else from the public want to speak on this?
Kerry Coombs, 3599 West, 6000 South. The house coming right straight out from there. The one thing I just want to bring up is, even right now, I don't know how many times I've tried to turn into my driveway and almost got plowed by a car coming down, trying to get out of my driveway. It's really a hard situation with that. I agree with making sure that people have places to live and places to be, but I don't think it's the place to put high density amongst what's already there. So that's it.
All right, thank you.
This is Beaumont.
Sharon Bowman. I live on 6050 South, and I was wondering if you could put up the more close-up map like this one.
What's the rest of your address?
Oh, 3821 West. The two proposed lots right there. This goes along with what Jean was saying, and it's just more of something I would like you guys to really seriously consider, because to us it feels like, you took the lots on 3500. Well, okay, you guys didn't take them, but you know what I mean. They've become commercial now, and I understand Mr. Parkinson's idea of why didn't we consider these two, but why not consider the ones next to them? Because look, those two are connected too, and it's just like what Jean said. And it feels like that it's really encroaching on the neighborhood. And you've got one of the nicest neighborhoods in Roy with Holly Acres and all of those homes right there. And to put this in the middle of it and to put that traffic, and what just got approved in Clinton City is going to be insane. I would like all of you who don't live down there to come on 6000, park in some of those driveways and try to get out at peak time right now without all those other homes coming in. And I'll tell you, because a lot of the cars from Clinton come up 6050 because they want to avoid 6000 because it's so busy, and they just tear up our street on 6050. I mean, the speeding and the traffic down there, if you don't ever come down there, you need to go see what it's like. And you really need to consider what is going on, because once 3500 gets to 5 lanes in 2027, it's not that far off. It's going to be like downtown Salt Lake. Is that what we are now? Because, everybody who bought homes down that way, that's what we were getting away from. That's why there's the half-acre lots, the acre lots. That's what people wanted. And this is one person who's having a hard time selling their home, and I have sympathy for that, because, nobody wants anybody to have to claim bankruptcy. We have a son right now trying desperately to find a home. So I understand all the sides of it, I really do. But there is more sides than just let's make some money. There's a quality of life, and I really hope that this commission takes that into consideration. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Audrey Martinez. I live at 3671 West, 6050 South. I've been a resident of Roy for over 30 years, and I lived farther up near here on 2425 West, and we purchased our home down in that neighborhood for that exact reason, for the nice new Ivory Homes South Fork Meadows subdivision, and we put a lot of money into our home. We've made it a very nice home. We have wonderful neighbors that live by us. It's a nice neighborhood, and I hate to repeat it, but several people have pointed out it's one of the nicer areas in Roy. My concern is something that hasn't been mentioned yet, and that is Roy is what I've heard called a bedroom community. There's a lot of families that live in Roy. There's a lot of children. And our population just keeps going up, up, up. Our schools are packed. But what I'm concerned about is teenagers and kids like my daughter who joined us here today, who's going to be 16 years old and has her driver's permit. And it's really been difficult for us to teach her how to drive in that neighborhood already, going up 6,000. In fact, she drove us here tonight. And the traffic is just increasing and increasing and increasing. So it's difficult and hard. You know, she offered a suggestion. She said, why don't they go out west? But she may not understand where the borders of Roy end and we go into the next city. So I just want to implore upon us to remember about our community is not just adults or seniors. We have a lot of children and teenagers that are driving on these roads and increasing that traffic on that road where a gentleman already said we're waiting 20 cars in line to get through the light and planning ahead, 30 to 40 minutes. In fact, that's why we're late. We were late to this meeting. I apologize. But anyway, I'd just like to make sure you consider the impact to our teenagers and our children as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak?
Can you only speak once?
Yes.
Good question.
My name is Molly Blackburn.
Molly, pull the microphone down.
My name is Molly Blackburn, and I live at 5939 South, 3500 West. And of course, we're on that little chopping block. And it breaks my heart because when we got here 25 years ago, that was going to be our home. And our way of life has been animals and has been, and there's just, when you try to move animals with you, it makes it really hard to find another comparable place, especially when this isn't just Roy, but we're kind of taking out a lot of the cities that have animals. Anyway, but I wanted to add like what Sharon Bowman was saying about the quality of life. When you start scrunching everybody up together all tight, I just think there's more anxiety, there's more anger, more contention between neighbors. People need a little bit of space. And I'm not saying everybody has to have 2 acres, but I am saying, I do, but we need a little space just to be able to relax at the end of the day, be able to go out in your backyard and be able to just sit down and look at some trees, look at some grass, look at, for us animals romping around and having a good time. So, I just feel like when you start squishing people together, we're going to end up with more contentions and more upset people, especially with the traffic problems and maybe people not respecting boundaries and stuff like that. So although I do know everybody needs a home, we all know that. And we want that for our kids too. But I think these townhomes, are they really going to be affordable for our kids to get into? I mean, what kind of jobs do they have where they make twice the rent that's going to be required? And so I think that's kind of a situation too. Who's going to be moving in? Maybe not our kids, but maybe some really good neighbors, we hope. And, well, I guess that's what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Michael Bowman. I live at 3821. Excuse me, 3821 West, 6050 South in Roy. I'm opposed to this. I won't beat the dead horse that everyone has talked about with traffic and everything. I'm a little surprised in a meeting like this that we're talking about something this serious and there wasn't a more specific plan to this. I heard a lot of generalities. We might do this, we might do this. My concern is if this moves forward, what is to stop that from changing to something different than what we've shown as this is our concept right here. And I would hope that my wife and I have lived in Roy for almost 40 years. We lived over on 5800 South, sold our home and had a decision. We could have lived anywhere, but we chose to stay in Roy. Our children actually looked at us and said, if you move, we're staying here in the house. And we stayed here in Roy. We built our home on 6050 South, and we've been here for a long time. I'm surrounded by many of these people behind me are wonderful neighbors, and we live in a great neighborhood. And I would hope that you would consider, as everyone has talked about, the quality of life. There's a reason that I stayed here. There's a reason that I moved where I did, because I wanted to be out away from there. And we live in a wonderful place right now, and I would hope that you would take that into consideration and think, because I know, like most of my neighbors, our home represents probably the biggest asset and the biggest source of your accumulated wealth that you have. And all of us have a lot of money and a lot of our life in those homes. And I would hope that everyone would consider that in addition to all of the other things that have been stated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mindy Coombs, 3599 West, 6000 South. I am looking directly at this property from my house. The point I would just want to bring up, I know my husband mentioned how difficult it can be to get in and out of our driveway. When this property was doing some estate selling, and because they were preparing to move, there was a lot of cars parked out on the street, and I know Mr. Arrington has mentioned that as well. With cars parked on both sides of 6000, you can barely get traffic going, let alone people trying to turn in and out of driveways. Also, that property that's so huge across the street from us, they oftentimes brought their trailers, and they had a rental business where they were renting side-by-sides and things like. They brought it over onto our side of the street to deal with their business. It's not a huge area, and I guess that's my concern. Maybe it looks big, but to try to picture, actually walking to the house, it's not super huge, and the thought of 20 units on there is really a lot. So anyway, I want to be able to get out of my driveway. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Christine Hatch, and I live at 3948 West, 6050 South. And I don't want to repeat all the things that people have said, but I'm concerned about commercial coming in, just because if you look at the way the road goes, if it can't be connected to the other commercial area, then have the entrance be where the lines are, I'm concerned about the safety of the children in the neighborhood, just because we have kids riding bikes, kids coming home from school. I'm just worried that there's going to be a challenge with the space. Is, like Mindy said, it's not as big as it seems when it's drawn out. 20 units is a lot. If there could be less density, it would make more sense to me. That's what I have to say.
Thank you.
She just said less density. She didn't say just less density.
Last call for anyone else to speak to the issue. right, I think a motion's in order.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. So let's go back and let's address some of the questions. Steve, you took a list. I took some. Do you just want to start
I hope I got everything.
down yours? And if there's any missing, we can fill in the gaps. So
And the first couple were, you talked about traffic. You know, I've said it before, and this body understands, traffic is unfortunately traffic until we are willing to get out of our cars and use bikes or walk to things. It's just going to be continuous because even, you know, Clinton in the south is going to bring in traffic. Hooper to the west of us is bringing traffic. So, you know, traffic unfortunately is important to take into account, but it's just not something that, it's just always going to be there regardless of if this is rezoned or not. Again, doesn't, water pressure, there was a concern on that. Again, with not knowing what is going to be developed, I know we have a lot of water. That doesn't mean that the pressure is great, and I know Public Works, you know, if they heard that, and I will let them know, they will check into it to see what's going on. If we need to put another valve to increase pressure farther down, we can do that. So that's something I can look into. Street parking, visitor parking, I know there's concerned. What the ordinance requires for every, and it's different from single-family homes to multifamily homes. So single-family homes required to have two-car parking. You know, we can have 5 kids and all of them have cars, but two-car parking. In a multifamily, it's 2 cars plus parking for visitors. So they do have more requirements for parking. Now, granted, a 3-bedroom townhome, we still have a couple kids. 4-bedroom townhome, you still have a couple kids. There will be parking, but as families get older, parking becomes more and more of an issue. I lived in a townhome project when my kids were teenagers, and it was great because I had all the visitor parking in front of my place, so they just parked there. But each one is done differently, but our code has a minimum requirement.
And Steve, typically in what was proposed here, would that be a private road that goes into the homes, or would that typically be a public?
Well, the way it's drawn, it's probably going to be private. But again, without it going through the site plan review and stuff, if it's 60 foot wide, it'd be a public road. I don't think they want to do that because that limits their space. But yeah, it would be, it's all those cars going on one access. It's not uncommon to have 20 homes on a single access. In fact, we've got 72 off of 48 by West Park that's got one access. I'm going through. As mentioned, this hasn't gone through any type of review, so our ordinance allows for 12 units per acre. We'd have to look at it. There are some bonus densities that they can look at doing, but those are very difficult to come by. I've only had one project get it, and they got 1 extra unit because they opened their park to the public. So that, that was something, but they had 75 units, got 76. So it was, not a huge difference. Do you guys have things that you brought up?
The height of the building.
Getting there.
Well, you said bring up other things.
Height of
I took you at
buildings,
your word.
as mentioned, in the single-family zone, either RE20 or R115, it's 35 feet to peak of roof. For R4, it has the same requirement of 35 feet to peak of roof. Commercial is the only difference, it's 40 feet. Most commercials are flat roofs, so that's where you'd get it. But if they did do a pitched roof like River Rock Run, we probably messed it up. River Rock Run, we all know that corner. They have pitched roofs, but, you know, they're really just a single story with
With a
some,
single story.
with a roof. So height-wise, if you go R4, if you go commercial, it's really about the same. The difference, again, is our ordinance requires buffering, fencing, landscaping in between commercial and residential, where the residential doesn't. I know there was, someone had mentioned that they got a letter. Our code requires letters to all those within 300 feet of the property. Beyond that, you're not sent one. The staff report and stuff was online on Friday, so that's as quick as I can get people out that information. But again, there was a comment about why wasn't there a more in-depth plan versus the concept that we were given. By state statute, it's not required at this stage. One, because it costs thousands and thousands of dollars to render something that you don't even know if you can do. So having concepts of an idea of what they could do is really the best way to go about it. Again, it's not even required by our code or even state statutes to do the presentation that they've got. So having a developer come in that's done things before, they can take off of what they've previously done and give better ideas. Anybody else while I'm reading down?
I think that was most of what I had. There was one that said, can it be less than 20 homes? That was, I think, the only other.
If they developed it multifamily, again, it's 12 units per acre, so this is about 18. If they did single-family homes, now this is where it kind of gets into a gray area. Our code requires access to a public road. If they did single-family home, it could be on a private road as long as there was a development agreement with the council. We have had one project in Roy that did it that way. It was a private road, and the council agreed to do a development agreement. It's not something I like to do, knowing that after 10 years I've only got one. I feel like I'm doing pretty good, but that is an option. They could do single-family homes. Usually it's 6,000 square feet per lot. I know the one development we did, it was 3,600 square feet per lot. So they could get some density, but they're all single-family. But that's something that the council would have to consider if that's where they wanted to go. We are a bedroom community. Clinton is as well. The issue comes is because everybody to the west of us, they're wanting commercial, they're wanting somewhere to, get gas, get food, get groceries, entertainment. And because of, and I'll blame it all on Clinton. Then again, Kent's might have been there before Albertsons and Clinton, but they kind of helped or didn't help the situation along 3500 West by having all their commercial there, but it seems to be working, so it's not farther west. But those communities that way are still dealing with traffic that, coming through Roy. That's something unfortunately, we have no control over, the amount of traffic coming through, both going to work and coming home from work. I think I got everybody's questions. There was a lot more concerns than questions. I do have 5 pages of it.
Thanks, Steve. Any discussion or comments from any of the commissioners?
I do have a question, just to make sure I understand. So for a proposed project like this or something similar to this, multifamily or high density, the general plan, we'd have to be, it wouldn't fit a commercial mixed use, would it?
Well, it's an option because it is in the area, what the general plan had talked about, having it right next to and abutting it to the east and to the north.
Right.
So it is an option.
But what I'm saying is this particular plan, would it be a permitted use or even a conditional use in this area? If it were changed to commercial mixed use?
Well, that's what you're debating tonight is should we change it? And if we do,
Right.
what should it be to? A lot of times, most developers only give you one option. This one
These get good too.
gave us two. So you have three options. Leave it the same,
Right.
amend it to, and this is just general plan wise. Amend it to multifamily or amend it to community commercial. And then the zoning wise needs to match that general plan aspect. So
Right.
if you're saying it makes more sense to be community commercial or commercial mixed use, then community commercial should be the zone that you look at. But again, if you look to say, no, let's keep it as it is, and that's our recommendation, I would say have the zoning map follow suit.
Right.
Don't try to mix match.
Yeah, but I think the commercial, just in my opinion, it's a little premature to try to go to commercial on this property. I mean, that in the future may be an option if something else happens, but right now I just feel like that may not be the right thing for this property at this time. That's just my
The other
my
question
opinion, though.
is an R4 appropriate? And I'm looking at the zoning map and not seeing that either.
Yeah, well, and that's the hard part for me, because I look at this and traditionally a good buffer between commercial, which you have next to it, it is high density,
Right.
multifamily kind of a thing, and we clearly have a need in the community for more affordable housing, and housing is ridiculous. I mean, I look at it, and behind Bridge Academy, those houses are the high 400,000s, and that's affordable. I mean, it's laughable that that's affordable in today's day and age with the wages that people make, and so I don't know. I mean, like what's been presented definitely traditionally fits that mold, but then there's nothing around it that's in that zone, and that's where I'm kind of struggling with this, just a little bit.
As we look at the continuity of the community and as it relates to the general plan, that R4 just, it doesn't stay with the continuity of what we have developed down there. And so I would struggle with that. And then the point that was brought up about the community commercial, first, we take these two lots, which are obviously just one lot, but they're two lots plotted. What's the say in future planning commission? They don't just continue to move down like was stated, and there isn't. And so what was the general plan when we said, no, we'll just stay with what we have on the corner, and that's what we're gonna call our commercial zone. There's no reason to really expand the commercial zone. There's not a real benefit to it. So I struggle with either concept on this property.
Well, and I just want to address the traffic too. I know that's one of the big concerns we've heard, and we hear that a lot with projects that we get, but also, honestly speaking, any project that goes in there is going to have an impact on traffic. And as long as we have cities around us continuing to build, we're stuck in a weird zone where we have communities out west with lots of property. I mean, I live over by Kent's, and traffic is what it is, and I don't know that these types of projects really, in the grand scheme of things, make a huge difference. I think there's other considerations in my mind, and traffic is just going to be, it's going to keep growing regardless of whether we, keep things in fields or single houses or smaller multifamily developments like this is. I mean, those are going to be the reality of it as we're a transition, kind of a pass-through type community. We're always going to deal with those issues.
Well, one other issue was brought up about the amount of cars that could possibly be in an R4 development. And as I look at issues that I deal with in my job, where these type
What's
of
your
developments
job?
are.
Tell them what your job is.
I do code enforcement for West Haven City. In our city, I do all the parking regulations rather than the law enforcement. So I deal with the parking issues around medium density, high density, and there is some truth behind this, because as my experience is that yes, we have mom and dad to drive, but dad also has a truck that he likes to drive that drags a boat or a trailer. Kids have a car, and quite often we see these cars migrate onto city streets and are stored there, not necessarily parked. And that's what I deal with, is that stored. The city street is not a place for people to store their items. It's a temporary parking space for convenience. And so when we look at these type of medium high density, it does have an impact on the city roads, and it does create parking issues there, but inside, it still is a concern. Not seeing the development layout and the depth of the garages and the length of the driveways. We don't know all that yet. But based on the proposed density, the sizes, the rooms that they're going to have, yeah, my concern is that we are going to see that now flood out of that area onto the city streets and creating some problems.
I think the point was made earlier that the parking restrictions are more restrictive in a single family
Right.
than they are in a higher density.
Right.
There's more provision for additional parking in a multifamily than you have
Yeah.
in a traditional single
Yeah.
family. There are more cars overall,
Right.
but you have more options for
Yeah,
parking.
and without seeing their plan, that would be difficult to even
Right.
determine, so. But to me, again, I go back to, does it make sense with continuity of the community to put this kind of use in there, even though it sounds like it could be a good buffer, but it's like an island type
Well,
of
just to
development.
clarify, Steve, in a single-family property, they have to have 2 parking spaces.
Yes.
In a high density such as this with a townhome, they would have to have 2 parking spaces plus.
It's 2.5 stalls per unit.
So there's actually more parking, just to clarify that point, there's more parking in a multifamily than there is a single.
And as the way they've got it laid out, it doesn't have dedicated spots for visitor parking, and that's why I believe that's in there, right? As it's drawn.
Again, it hasn't gone through any type of
Right.
review.
Correct.
Yeah.
This project looks real nice. It's, it follows the 3 Ps, proper planning, what is that, proper project planning? Anyway, it looks like normally we would have to do this. We would do buffers between the residential houses, and it just follows everything that we've been shown about it. And it looks like it'd be a really good project, but I personally would like to see it stay the way it is.
Okay.
And that's one of the rare times where I'm going to part from my norm on voting for something like this on this project, but I would like to maintain the current zoning boundaries the way they are, is basically my opinion on it.
As I stated at the beginning, I live in the neighborhood, not directly across the street, but on 3850, which is also a traffic way to all of the development is going down south in the Ivory development down there. The only solution I've found for traffic, my friends, is you can go with me to Starbucks and to Lowe's at 6 o'clock in the morning. Other than that, it's a parking lot at 3,500 and 6,000. My first view of this is that we spent a considerable amount of time coming up with the general plan. And while it's not set in stone, I'm reluctant 6 months later or 8 months later or whatever time it's been to start making changes to it because that was our development. So I'm inclined not to believe either one of those. If we have to choose, I didn't discuss this with my neighbors, but I did with my wife. And she said one of the reasons that Rock Run works so well is they don't have any businesses there at night. And so we don't have any nighttime. We don't have a drive-through theater or McDonald's or any of that kind of stuff. So I'd be more willing to consider that type of thing, provided there was ingress and egress from 3,500 and not off of 6,000. And my daughter pointed out that there is a space, those buildings on Rock Run provide for a space that, Mr. Wenham's shaking his head, yes, space that would allow for ingress and egress to get to this property from 3,500. So that's my comments at the moment.
Can't make those promises if Rock Run would allow that.
That's a business. That's not a government decision.
Any other comments or a motion is in order?
Make a motion that we deny changing the general plan and the zoning for this area.
So we have a motion to deny the zoning change.
I'll second that.
Well, is this
Would-
the land,
Do you
future
do
land use
both?
map?
Land use map.
I need two
Yep.
different,
Okay,
It's 2 motions here.
2 motions then.
and who seconded? Okay. So we'll
So
do.
motion to deny the future land use
Right.
map change.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're all clear and
Right.
understand the motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a second?
Spar seconded.
We already have a second.
Already
Okay.
have the
Jason already
second.
did.
All right. Roll call vote.
Okay, Commissioner Collins,
Aye.
Commissioner Spar,
Aye.
Commissioner Felt,
Aye.
Chair Cowley,
Aye.
Commissioner Brand,
Aye.
Commissioner Bills,
Aye.
Commissioner Tanner.
Aye.
So that passes 7-0.
Which, not good news.
Then the second motion, do you want to make that motion or,
So moved?
well, we have to know what it is.
Oh.
To deny?
Say it again, do I?
Put it on the record, man.
Yep.
Hang on a second. My screen went dark.
You want me to go ahead and do it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Motion to deny the zoning map change from RE20 residential estates to either R4 multifamily residential or CC community commercial.
So we have a motion to deny the zoning change.
Second.
We have a second, and this will be a roll call as well.
Commissioner Tanner,
Aye.
Commissioner Bills,
Aye.
Commissioner Brand,
Aye.
Chair Cowley,
Aye.
Commissioner Felt,
Aye.
Commissioner Spar,
Aye.
Commissioner Collins.
Aye.
Okay. Like I said, I don't know if it'll be on next week's. If it's not on next week, it will be on the first one of April. So look, just kind of check the website. You can sign up for notifications of agenda items and stuff, but just check the Friday before that next Tuesday. So check this Friday for next week's meeting. If it's a small agenda, I'll get it on there as quick as I can. If it's too full and I get told no, it'll be on the first one of April.
I'd like to make a quick
And
comment.
if you have questions, because you can't find it, don't hesitate to call me. Especially those who got the letter should have my number. If not,
And Steve, you're talking about the city council meeting.
yes, city council, sorry.
I want everybody to know that what we just did was we made a recommendation to the city council. We don't have final authority to say yay or nay on this. And so there will be another public meeting in front of the general council. If you want to show up there and express your views, you're encouraged to do so.
It won't be a public hearing.
There's no public hearing?
No.
Correct.
They don't get to speak at all?
They can speak during public comment.
Public comment.
But that's usually before all the items.
Okay.
And the city council will have record of all of the comments from this
Yes.
meeting.
Right.
And I just want to take a minute and thank you, Chase, for coming and presenting this project. I know sometimes it's hard when you don't get the vote in your favor. But I do appreciate this project because I don't think it was a bad project. And I do appreciate when people come and try to bring ideas and concepts to make our community better. Unfortunately, on this one, we just didn't agree with the rezone change. But I do want to thank you for coming. I know sometimes that's hard to be on that end, so thank you. All right, with that, we will move on to agenda item number 5. And thanks, Steve, for this massive packet with a bunch of items. It's a little hard to get around in it. So the next item, and members of the public, if you want to leave, great. If you want to stick around, we'd love to have you stay here. But the next item will be a request for site plan and architectural approval for an addition to Bonneville Meats, located at approximately 1815 West, 4000 South. And is the applicant for that here? Okay. Let's wait just a minute, and those that are leaving, we can let them leave. And
You'll have to share.
That's that clear around.
yeah, we'll see if they. I think it's from the applicant.
I guess I could, as long as I get a copy back.
Oh.
Should be enough, should be 3, so if a copy of you share.
You two have to
The
share.
chair should have one, and
I know what restrictions and covenants are. I'm good.
I'm a good listener.
Huh?
I'm a good listener.
I'm a good writer.
False.
right.
I know. All right. Mr. Walsh, go ahead.
Edward Walsh at 5577 Daylily Drive in Mountain Green, not even in your city, but I'm the builder, GC Construction 360, and so I typically do all the red tape for them.
Can you wait just a minute? Brody or somebody, could we have you close the door just so it stays quiet in here? Thank you.
Locked behind.
Don't yank too hard.
No.
Guess that's our answer.
There we go. I'll just talk louder.
Thank you for doing that. All right, go ahead, Mr. Walsh.
Okay, so on the review things, I've marked them up with the items that you have there. So on the engineering note, on the first note, I think, because I don't think really nothing on the staff report, other than, do you want to do the staff report first, or what do you got that, which one of these do we usually get just both?
Well, they've got a copy of the staff report, so.
Okay. So on the staff report, on the elevations there, yes, so Diego from Bonneville Mills, one of the owners, decided he would outsource the canopy that our architect and engineer drew originally to be over a certain area that's on the west side of the sidewalk that just covers the sidewalk, that's it, and the baler. So that would be, sorry, I didn't bring my glasses, so that would be this canopy here. So that canopy there, we originally, and then now it goes to here. That's on a separate 160-page engineering that the canopy company that I submitted with the project. And so the architect, A&E, I've been bugging them to redraw all that, but that's on the first one there, on the, where it said there was a conflict between like a 24 by 12 one to 12 by 72. So it just covers the whole walkway there on the west side of the sidewalk there. So that will be shown on the new set that comes. And then the finishes on that side of that building will be an IFAS finish. They just didn't put the right patch symbol and wrote it still, so, but it is an IFAS. The wall product is the same wall product that I used to build the freezer on the opposite side, 6 inches of foam with steel studs inserted in it, so it gives us an R40 in the walls. And so that will be the wall construction of that, of the new addition, of the enclosed new addition. So on your items there that I've given you, the first one, the right-of-way, it's got pictures of the right-of-way and how much room we got in between already with the existing. Basically, we're just taking up the existing parking. If you look at item A, the page there, you see the parking there. We're pretty much just taking up that parking spot. And we lease the whole strip. So there's a strip of parking that belongs to Ogden City and the airport. We lease, Bonneville Meats has the lease solely on that piece and wraps around behind the detention pond. And so we have the 51. So back to the very part of the one there is item B, what's the rights and easements? And this is the HOA's easement that I copied on, that only they have in there on the common area is parking. And so that we had to maintain 51 on the one page. It says, I think it should be on there. All the rest is just HOA. On one page here, page 7, it should say parking stalls for lot parcel 4 is 51. And so we just had to maintain 51 parking spots. That's the ones in the north of our building and everything behind us as well in that. So we actually provide about 100 parking spots with everything that we got leased. And so that's on talking to the engineering on your item 1, that's the CC&Rs that we've got with that are, everything else has to do with fees of maintenance and everything else. So that was the only thing that I found in that note that was on that ALTA survey. And that was those that I given you there to identify those. The Great Basins had done a
ALTA survey on 1999, and you do have that one. And then there was one done in 2005 and one done on 2022 when Lot 3 bought it. The new buyers bought that, Lot 3, and that is on Exhibit D, Item D, shows their ALTA survey done on, and it's the same company, I believe, or it could have been someone different, but on 2022, that identified the storm drain. The older one showed one coming off the west side of our building. We don't have that. There's not that storm drain that does not come off of that. On the second page, I zoomed it in, and that is the accurate storm drain that it follows the manholes, and everything slopes to this line and then goes this way to that catch basin there and then goes to our detention pond. So we're not disturbing any natural free drain that's there. All the roof drains on this building are on the east side and drain off the east and then go into a catch basin that's underneath there that we've got there. So that is the storm drain. The water line, I couldn't find a wire to find it exactly where it's at. There's 3 maps that everybody's got a different opinion where it's at. And so that will happen here in a week and a half. They'll come in, they've got a sonic thing now that they can actually find the water line without there's no stops out in the street. I only got 1 stop by the fire hydrant and the meter. So either they got buried in new asphalt or whatever, but there is nothing that comes off the main street that tells us, that shows what the other 2 previous ALTA surveys has shown. Our guy shows it outside our building, but we are moving the fire hydrant anyways. It got ran over last year and I had to stand it back up and fix it. So that was a misprint for the A&E to replace it. So the replacement is going to go to the north side of the building. Then that eliminates that main water line, because it dead ends to the fire hydrant. It doesn't go on and service anybody else. It dead ends to the fire hydrant, so we'll just move it to the north side with a brand new one. So that'll be just 50 feet to the north that'll be placed there. So they're redrawing that. And then, so that covers our sewer and water, the 4-inch sewer line. Then the 4-inch sewer line is this page, item C, and page 1 and 2. We just scoped that out today, had the plumber come and shoot the line, and it comes out of that west side and turns and goes to the manhole that's up on the northwest corner of the property there. It's kind of half on and half on Lot 3 and half lot on lot, based on the property line there. But there's no other manholes. So it's just a 4-inch line that fed a floor drain that we capped inside the building, because that's a refrigerator now and a freezer. And that line fed there and turned to 90 and went directly north to the manhole. Then it also teed off to the main sewer line that comes out of the building there. So we located all that didn't, and there's just the 1 manhole. So, and then it goes to this lift station in front of property 3. And so the sewer line, we'll be using that. We'll be putting the men's bathroom in the back there. So we'll be tying to that. And so it doesn't, I don't think being on top of that and moving the water line actually is going to bring it up to code, because we shot the depth, and the depth of the sewer line is only barely 2'11". So, my water, when we stuck a tape down before, it looked like it was a 6-foot bury. So it shouldn't be that way anyways. So we'll take and move the water line, demo it out of there, and end it there, and put it's private land, but I don't know at that point, should we have a flush out, because otherwise you don't have anything there. I know when it came to fix it and do anything, it's our problem, not your guys's. So we can't call you to fix it, but is there the recommendations on that to have a clean out, wash out at the end of a fire hydrant? you guys, that would be it. That's pretty much, I think, answered all the questions that were there. Other ones just fall into the actual permitting position, so.
Okay, any questions from any of the commissioners?
I
Thank
do
you.
have like 20, just about 20 feet between us and lot 3 for the driveway between us. And there is that next picture there that we shot that you have that just shows the alleyway there, and you can barely see the pink line, the purple line I painted. That's where the building ends. The new building will end, and then our property line is actually over to here. We're 5 foot, about 5 foot something off of our property line, but we don't have any setbacks that are required for us on that for zoning or building permits. So, but we're staying 5 feet, so it gives them just about 20 foot. And then that dock that lands there, there's a foundation wall on item C, page 2, west view to loading dock, foundation wall. These individuals would never be able to turn around here. There's a foundation wall that runs there, so they would have to pull in backwards, drive up, and then back in. So no matter whatever size semi-trucks they brought in there, we wouldn't be having any hindrance for vehicle movement.
Okay. All right, thank you. We'll move on to the staff presentation, Steve.
As mentioned, this is site plan and architectural review for, I keep going the wrong direction, there we go. For Bonneville Meats, they're at 1815 West, 4000 South. Kind of give you an aerial, it's over by the airport.
Welcome to have a seat if you want to, Mr. Walsh. A little more comfortable for you.
And granted, I'm going off of information that was provided before, nothing that's new. So, site plan that was provided, kind of, one didn't show the canopy or the awning in the northwest corner, and just showed the new addition. We subsequently got a new site plan showing the two. The awning company's already submitted, and that's why the conflict is one shows it 12 by something, and I can't, anyway, and the other one's 12 by 72, so it's like, which one is it? Not that either one of them is bad, it's just there was a conflict. So when you look at kind of the new addition plus the new awning, it's kind of really what it will look like. Building-wise, other than the materials of the addition, if they're gonna do ephes or stucco, which is that really is, then that's more appropriate, and the zone would allow for that in there. So most of this, as long as it meets all the codes when they, resubmit, I wouldn't be opposed to saying, approve it with subject to all the DRC comments being satisfied, versus my recommendation that's in the staff report of tabling it. Because there is some new information that we didn't have before, and so.
I make a recommendation to approve with the conditions that. the
Site or architecture?
Site and architectural plan, meet all DRC comments.
I'll second.
Sorry, I was a little broken on that.
So we need two separate motions, right?
Yeah, we'll just do site first.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Because that sounded like both, so I just wanted to clarify.
It was. I'm a little confused myself tonight.
We're on a roll tonight.
Make a motion to approve the site plan with conditions that it meet all the comments from the DRC review.
Second.
Do you have a motion and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the architectural review with conditions that it meet the requirements from all comments of staff and DRC review.
Second.
I think Commissioner Tanner beat you there, so. All in favor? We have a motion and a second for the architectural. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously as well. Item number 6 on the agenda is the Ogden Clinic, and is a request for site plan and architectural approval for Ogden Clinic, approximately 3485 West, 5200 South.
Good evening. My name is Pascal Meyer with Carpenter Stringham Architects representing the Ogden Clinic this evening. The request is for some site changes and exterior elevation changes to the existing Ogden Clinic building off of 3500 West Street. The changes on the outside are necessitated because of some remodeling and renovating they're doing on the inside. They're taking out the existing physical therapy and putting in an imaging center. And so it's caused us to have to do some things on the outside. The imaging center has a CT scan and MRI, and so there's some equipment that needs to be dealt with. So on the site, you'll see, this is the existing site right here. Doesn't want to reflect on the screen. The top upper right one. Oh, there we go.
Old school.
Pencil versus the ballpoint
Here's the
pen,
existing
right?
site, so the demolition that would need to happen is this portion of sidewalk taken out because we've got to put in some exterior ground mounted mechanical equipment, a chiller for the MRI machine. So we got to demo a little piece of concrete in our sidewalk, and then we got to put in this concrete pad here for the chiller unit that sits right there, and then gonna reroute the sidewalk around it. And then we're proposing a fence around the chiller unit. That unit's about 6 feet tall, and our vinyl fence is gonna be tall. Can we go to the next one? So on the south elevation, this is the existing here. There's this entrance here to the old physical therapy, right? We've got to take out that door, put in new windows, the window system here, and then we're replacing all of these windows here with glass that you can't see through because of privacy, and that's where the imaging takes place. So we got to match that glass, and you can't see through it anymore. And on the south elevation, we're taking out an area here of the wall, the stone, and these three windows, put in a larger window because that's the only way to get the equipment in. And I think the big question was, what color of fence were we going with? We deliberated for hours and came up with tan. We hope that's favorable to the commission. But we just did our best here to tie into the existing material. Of course, the Ogden Clinic, they're a first-class operation. They really want this to look nice. So that's, what you'll see there on from the south. Happy to address any questions you might have.
All right, any questions?
Did you really deliberate for hours?
I went back and forth in my mind. Should it be tan or should it be
Beige?
beige?
Oh, okay. That's what I thought. Thank you.
That was an internal debate just between you and you.
Yeah. We, architects, we can debate with ourselves for quite some time.
Well, that would have been days if you had included the attorneys.
And a lot more money.
Yes.
Off the record.
That was good. All right, thank you for the presentation. Steve, we'll go to the staff presentation.
As mentioned, this is site plan and architectural approval for Ogden Clinic there on 3485 West, 5200 South. Again, just kind of an aerial of where it's located, 3500 West, 5200 South there on the southwest corner. My site plan isn't as great as his. It had a little more closer up, but again, it just shows the sidewalk that was running along the south side of east side of the building just being moved. It doesn't really create much. As you see in my large review of it and the DRC comments, I think the largest one I've ever had of one item. And it doesn't matter, it could be pink. Our code doesn't specify what color it needs to be, so I don't know if I just added another color for him to debate with, but. So kind of just the changes to the elevations. Again, we're going from a door to a similar window. Nothing big, it's glass to glass. Granted, it won't be see-through, but when you visually look at it, there's no real difference. And then again, on the other side, I actually think this makes it look better, having a bigger window, kind of the glass idea versus just a solid wall. So staff would recommend approval. I don't know if they're going to be able to comply with all the DRC comments, but there were two. Land disturbance permit and what color is the fence?
Excellent. Thanks, Steve. Any questions or a couple of motions are in order?
Make a motion that we approve the site plan for the
Ogden Clinic.
Ogden Clinic, sorry, at 3485 West, 5200 South, with all conditions, with the DRC comments, all two of them, and staff, and anything stated in the staff report and planning commission.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the site plan and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you.
We gonna do the
Just
second
have the
part?
other motion, yes.
Okay.
I was just saying thank you. 'cause he was-
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, not likely it's gonna change much, but we make a motion to approve the architectural review for Ogden Clinic at that address, as long as it complies with all conditions stated in the staff report and the DRC review.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the architectural plan and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous as well. All right, we will move on to agenda item number 7, I believe.
Yes.
Went too far. All right, agenda item 7, which is a request for site plan and architectural approval for Roy Junior High for Boys and Girls Club at approximately 2100 West, 5400 South. Mr. Ebert, I feel like roles are reversed for
Callie, how are you
normal.
doing? Callie,
Good.
how are you doing today, sir?
For years as a county commissioner, I would have to go present before him, so it's just a
Oh,
little,
that's why he looks familiar.
little different, so.
Hey, back. Oh, this guy.
yeah.
And I just listened.
Thank you for being here. Go
Gotcha.
ahead and walk us through your project, but state your name and address for the
James
record.
Ebert, Far West, Utah, 1754 North, 1350 South, something like that, West. 1754 North, 1350 West. I don't know where I live. It's been a long day. And I went super old school, so I'll show these if you're interested in it. We're working in conjunction with the Weber School District on renovating a portion of the Roy Junior High gymnasium. It's the old gymnasium that they left up, so in conjunction with Roy City, they can provide recreation services there. There is a girls' and a boys' locker room that are presently not really being used, and Weber School District requested that maybe we build out a teen club there facility. We presently run a teen club facility at the Roy Hope Center. It's one tiny room. This would allow us to expand services. We would have an innovation room, an academics room, a virtual reality room, and then some general areas where the kids could kind of hang out. And then we hope to build on the side of the building, kind of like a little atrium where we can have art and classes like that. So super excited about that. There's some site work that will have to be done that I think we're having conversations with the district a little bit about, and then with Roy City to make sure we meet all the needs. So I'm not sure exactly what you want me to kind of cover today, other than it will be an opportunity for us to expand services not only from the Roy Junior students, but also to the Sandridge students, and possibly to some Sunset Junior students where I know there's a lot of need. Again, we provide services for youth after school, a safe place for them to go, but also provide academic assistance and then some social, emotional. There's a lot of needs out there right now. So I'm open for questions or for staff report, whichever direction you would like to go.
All right,
Call him now.
any questions for Mr. Ebert? I feel like I should have like some really hard ones here, but.
Well, I brought Jacob Iverson from Mountain West Architecture, so I got back up, brother.
All right.
Is the goal to shift the club from the Hope location over to this location?
Yes, sir. So
Good.
our capacity at Roy Hope is probably about 20 kids in that one room, and this would allow us to provide up to about 65 to 70 kids
Oh, great.
or youth our services. So that's really what the goal is. And then our footprint's kind of limited because we'd like to pull more kids from Sandridge, also maybe pull some of our teens from the high school, and then also pull some kids from Davis County. So there's a couple different things that are kind of going on here, right? One of the big things we can do for youth is give them different circles to run in. And so as we bring kids from different, junior highs or high schools, it allows them to expand their social network and allows them to, maybe create new relationships and things like that.
Right.
So that's some of that goal.
I think it's a pretty cool project, to be honest.
I
I
think
think,
it is.
I think it's awesome, so.
On the parking of it, does it allow enough parking for high school kids, obviously, to come over, plus accommodate the vans that pull the younger kids
Yeah,
too?
you betcha. So I'll definitely leave it to staff, but most of our services are provided after school. And so a lot of that parking opens up after school. There's parking directly in front of the old gymnasium, but also when they built the new school, there's a tremendous amount of parking on the north side of the junior high. So I don't believe at this time there'll be a huge parking issue, but again, I'll leave it to staff to address in case I'm wrong, which happens on occasions.
And there is a pretty good drive there to pick, you know, if they're picking kids up or whatnot. It's designed for the buses and parents to drop off and right there by the gym.
Picture doesn't show much, so.
Yeah, and again, most of our kids attending will probably be junior high. And so, you know, the good thing about the high school kids, they can drive, but most of our services will be provided to the junior high kids, which will be mom and dad.
Yep.
So,
I have a question.
yes, ma'am.
Hi. Are the elementary kids staying at the Hope Center and just the secondary? So you're separating the kids? Oh, I
Yes,
like
so we'll
that.
separate the kids. That will allow us to expand services, probably about 20 kids at the Hope Center. So we're hoping to bump our average daily attendance up to about 110 or 120.
That's awesome. Yay.
I'd like to make a motion that we.
Hold up. Still got to go to staff.
I like your energy.
Ready to go.
This seems like
I don't need to hear no more.
no-brainer,
I
honestly.
got a soccer game.
Thank you, Mr. Ebert. Appreciate that.
I'm
We'll
with
go
you.
to staff now for the
With
staff
you, Jason,
report.
I'm with you.
Again, this is site plan and architectural review for Roy Junior High Old Gym for the Boys and Girls Club, Teen Club Room. Well, there's a lot of clubs in there. Just there at the junior high. Kind of an aerial of where the gym is in relationship to the new school. Site plan wise, and yes, it is kind of hard, but there is an existing sidewalk along the south side of it. They're just gonna move it south a little bit. The minimum distance or setback is 20 feet. I think they have 26 to what the deck would be, so they're compliant with that. I wasn't worried about parking just because the junior high has oodles of parking, plus this old gym has, 20 or 30 stalls all by itself. Architecturally, it's kind of what it looks like, but the next picture kind of gives you a better idea of what it will look like. It kind of just takes off that south end, adds in a better little entryway for it. You can't see, there's a deck that'd be on the west side of that entrance, so they have space to kind of hang outside on good days. Again, just a concept. They'll have, entertainment and things like that for the kids to do, places to sit and talk and eat and watch TV, kind of a better little layout. They're just taking the existing space and making it more friendly, I guess, something that wasn't used to something that can be used.
Practical.
So again, this was a large comment from planning with two comments, and one was just because signage just needs a different permit. So we just need to make sure that the photometric, when lights are on at night, it doesn't bleed over, but I don't think it'll be bad either way. And I don't think even everybody else had the same many comments, just not much. So staff would recommend approval, just with the conditions the DRC be complied with.
You're on that.
Unless you have more questions.
I'm not doing it.
Okay.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the site plan for Roy Junior High Boys and Girls Club at approximately 2100 West, 5400 South, is that it meets the comments by staff and DRC review.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the site plan in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes
You guys
unanimously.
are easy on him. Come on.
I know, right?
I make a motion we approve the architectural review for Roy Junior High Boys and Girls Club, approximately 2100 West, 5400 South, with the recommendations of staff and DRC review.
I have a motion for the architectural review and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Appreciate
Ebert.
it. Cool project. Item number 8 is a request for site plan and architectural approval of Spot Estates, approximately 4550 South, 1950 West. And is the applicant here from Spot Estates?
He was out of town, put down the wrong date of what the meeting is, so he'd like to withdraw his project, and we'll come back in April.
I
So-
approve.
Motion to table?
Make a motion to
Motion to
table it
table?
or
Okay.
motion to skip it. We can skip it.
Yeah,
Just skip.
yeah, just skip it. Just skip it.
Okay, we'll skip item number 8, move on to item number 9, which is
Just you?
The difficult.
hello. Request for architectural approval of a shelter for food truck area for Sacco's, approximately 6050 South, 1900 West.
I'm Brandy. I'm the owner of Farmhouse at Sacco's. My home address is up in Bear River City, 5675 North, 4800 West, Bear River City. Sacco's address is on the thing. Mine is just because I put a shade cover and didn't say what kind of shade cover. So now I'm trying to learn the rules and I'm asking for permission instead of forgiveness. I'm gonna do it right. And so I have a silo as the concept, as the shade cover.
That's a fun one.
So it'll be engineered, but it's truly the farm to table vibe. And I have silos, so, on my farm. So it would be engineered as well, but that's it. So that's me.
Okay, thank you. Steve, staff report.
As mentioned, architectural approval for the silo there for the food truck portion. Everybody knows where Sacco's is. If you don't, then you haven't been around for a while. When they asked for the food truck section on the north side of it, they mentioned that there would be some sort of structure. So when they brought it in, it was like, I kind of need to go through it because it won't be a temporary, it will just be a permanent one. But it will add to it. As mentioned in the staff report, the materials don't meet what the ordinance is, but the materials meets what she's been trying to do from farm to table, to store to table. So to me, I think because it is a small kind of temporary structure, I don't think it's bad to have that. Again, it'll just be a small portion that will be the corrugated metal, and there'll be wood and stuff like that. So staff would recommend approval of the architectural, and you can just make mention that, the material is appropriate.
Any questions? You look like you have a question.
I'm just looking at Steve, worrying about any pushback he might get from this.
I don't, because again, it's what, 12-foot circle or 13-foot circle?
It's great, but.
And it
Oh,
goes
it
with
looks
the
good.
whole having cows.
Yeah, it's not huge.
It's not, and it's really just for
That's my
aesthetically pleasing over there, right? Because right now you just have another parking lot. So up on the top, it's just gonna be gravel and asphalt from the mess that they're doing now. But it'll just be asphalt on the other side. So really what it's doing is creating actually some sort of prettiness in an ugly hole. So,
I don't have any problem with the aesthetics at all, just to
Oh,
be
no.
clear.
Oh, no.
My concern is that the corrugated metal coming back as an issue,
This is
if you have an
not-
answer for it.
This is not the same type of structure that was approved or
That's all I
looked at
wanna know.
last time, because it's not a storage facility.
Okay.
And again, the way they've drawn it, you might fit one picnic table underneath there.
right.
Okay.
So, it's not gonna be huge. It really is like a 10 by 10 shade structure, but just on a permanent basis.
It was
So,
just the last
again, I
time we
think
were
the
here,
concept of what she's been trying to do with the structure, it meets
I like it.
the intent, so.
I do.
Well, and I think, I really think as your first store in all of your city is it makes a statement, right? We want it to be a destination, and it kind of brings in that knowledge of so you're truly on my farm, there's silos, right? That's where, and so being able to aesthetically match the look of the farmer's market, there's nothing more traditional than a silo. And it's real, it's not, it's from Safeco, it's not like it's, I'm not building it in my backyard, it's a real silo.
No,
So.
I don't
it's-
have any problem with the aesthetics at all. I think it's appropriate. I think it looks terrific.
I would just, in your motion, just make mention, the size and what it's intent for, and
Yeah.
I guess that means you're doing the motion.
And we're just doing architecture, not the site plan, even though I put site plan on there.
The site plan's already done, right? Yeah. Because I'm like this close to being able to start, hopefully, after this.
Architectural.
Yeah, but just to be clear, the concern with the materials has nothing to do with this project. It's just overall using those kinds of materials to build buildings.
Yes,
in
I
that,
understand
in that
that for
zone. So
sure.
I just want to make sure you
Yeah, it's
you
not
understand
they
where we're
don't
coming
rust.
from on that.
They're not,
So.
I mean, this is, this is an actual silo. So it's not built in a backyard.
Understood. My concern's not for me, it's for.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion to approve architectural for Saco's food truck cover at the proposed dimensions as a cover at approximately 6050 South, 1900 West,
Second.
with, as materials as stated in the application.
We'll need the second after the motion was finished.
Sorry, go ahead.
Second, now
You
that
have
you're
a second.
finished. Yes.
So we have a motion for the architectural approval and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. All right, item number 10, thank you. And hopefully business is doing good. We love having you here in Roy, so. This is a request for site plan and architectural approval for Midland Market, approximately 3805 South Midland Drive.
Pat McGorrick here representing Environmental Control Systems. This is for the walk-in
You could
cooler.
state your address as well for
Okay,
the
I'm sorry,
record.
1439 Dunbar Lane, Syracuse, Utah.
Thank you.
We had some pushback on the encroachment on the walking box itself from the main road there. We've now cut that back 6 feet, which no longer makes it a problem, and also opens up that last parking stall, so it makes the 6 parking stalls that are required. The outside of the box itself will be stucco or T111 with matching trim, same color as the building. That was the issues that I thought we had in play here, so that's the resolve.
All right, thank you. Steve, we'll go to the, any questions first before
No.
we move to Steve? Okay, so we'll go to the staff report. Thank you.
As mentioned, this is site plan and architecture review approval for Midland Market there at 3805 South Midland Drive. Sorry it's so faint, it's a small property, but kind of the same, it's just off of the north side of Midland. If you ask yourself, why is Roy on that side, I don't know, but there's a small section of Roy on that side of the road. West Haven loves it. Originally, this item came to the Planning Commission on August 18th. Unfortunately, no one was here, and so the commission tabled it. The owner then has kind of flip-flop of what he wants to do. So the new site plan kind of shows it's 12 by 18 rather than 18 by 18. One of the concerns that staff has is it's still within that 20-foot side yard or setback from the road. And it's from property line, not the road itself. So right now we are 12 feet into the existing setback. Part of the concern is it.
We'd still be 20 feet from the road, though.
From the
Plus.
property line, yep.
Yeah, plus, yeah.
So I don't think this would meet zoning code on itself. It's good to hear that it'd be shortened and additional parking stall would be allowed. But the facility itself, or the addition itself is within the setback. So as mentioned in the staff report in the DRC, it's just it's something that would go against the zoning code. And it's good to know that, stucco and stuff like that would be on there rather than the metal. So staff would just recommend tabling it and see if we can figure out a different location for this unit versus where it's at now, so we can meet with the zoning requirements for setbacks.
Okay, any questions on that?
No.
And that really is something we don't have a lot of flexibility on the setbacks.
So as far as the setback, we're talking the property needs to be,
Any portion of the building can't be within 20 feet of the property line.
so it wouldn't be now at 12 feet, though.
Well, property line is, if you look north, there's a sidewalk, and the property line is 1 foot from the sidewalk going towards your building.
So we're too close to on the north then.
You're too close on the west side.
On the west side.
Yeah, but we've cut it back 6 feet though, so we're way within the 20 feet now.
You're 8 feet from property line.
So your building is 20 feet from the property line to the building.
Currently, yeah.
So anything that you do is going to be inside of that 20-foot zone on that east side or west side.
Okay, so we need, on the addition, we need to be 20 feet away from that addition to the property line, is what
So
you're saying.
there's just no room for anything on that side at all. The building's already right at the setback line.
Fair enough. Okay. That makes more sense to me now than I understood.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything on the east side that could be done. Like you could go east. I know that's a tight spot there.
It's a small, yeah. I mean, it's, I get it what you're saying now. I understood we had to be 20 feet from the, we were short by a couple feet is all, but I didn't understand that the building itself was right at the line.
Yeah, that would be right at the 20-foot setback line.
Fair enough.
So unfortunately, like I said, we don't have flexibility on that one, so.
Or we could just flex a little. Just be in a good mood about it.
All right, any further discussion or a motion to table it?
If you table, you can do both of them, if you're approving or in different or separate.
Motion to table site plan and architectural approval for Midland Market at 3805 South Midland Drive.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to table and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Thanks for coming in.
Appreciate you.
All right. Let me get back to the beginning of the packet here, Steve.
Commissioner's minute.
Item number 11, which is Commissioner's Minute. I don't have anything to bring up. Do any of the other commissioners have anything?
No.
Steve, are you going to talk about that training opportunity?
Okay, we'll move on to staff update, item number 12.
I sent it in your packet, but I wanted to give you guys a copy of it. There is a training that's available at Clearfield City Hall, Monday, April 8th. It kind of says Planning Commission Chair, but I do
Let us know,
feel,
Ryan.
I do feel that it, even here, they said it's good for everybody, because you never know, you could be voted for chair next year and,
Or the chair could not be here.
and have that information. So it really is a good thing. It's done by the Utah Land Use Institute. Usually, it even says at the bottom, the property rights ombudsman provides some training or some percentage to this. It probably will be trained or taught by the old, not Brett Bateman, but the guy, Craig, I can't remember his last name now, the first Utah ombudsman. So a good guy, very knowledgeable. So if you can attend, that'd be great. There is a link to register. If you need that sent by email, I can send it to you, but it'd be a good thing to go to.
All right, thank you.
Other
Good
than that, I don't have
opportunity.
anything.
Okay, item number 13.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, wait, we need a second, sorry.
Got everybody?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Over,
I can't hear it out of here anyway.
still passed. I didn't hear anything, so.
Yes. Who motioned it?
I did.
Okay.
Motion, and the second was Commissioner
Oh,
Feld.
yep.
Yeah, but
I gotta be somewhere.